This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get information on Xbox's E3 plans, allegedly. Some very interesting news has come out about God of War Ragnarok from a Sony Santa Monica employee. And I'm going to give you a hint, it was not Cory Barlog. More details have been released about Summer Game Fest, and Deep Silver announces that a cult classic is returning. All of these stories can be found here and more in episode 178 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell. Why's my microphone popping like that? I want to say welcome. I'm doing double duty. I just finished recording listener feedback. Y'all going over there and check that out. And now I'm doing back-to-backs with the Analog Circle podcast. The news, the gaming news. Y'all already know what it is. So, before we officially get started with the episode, if you, the listener, want to be a part of listener feedback, which will be coming up, I'm going to say Wednesday, but man, like I said on that episode, some of you guys might not listen to feedback, so let me let you guys know what I said over there. Here, with, the summertime coming up, man, being a truck driver, you start to get very, very busy. The summer months are the months where I am moving the most. So there may be times and weeks, and it just happened with listener feedback last week where I wasn't able to record on Wednesday or Thursday. I was tired, people, I was, but I will definitely get to it. So if you want to be a part of the next episode of listener feedback, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now there's one extra thing that I want to ask you guys to do. If you enjoy the content, if you enjoy what we do over here at the Analog Circle podcast, I just ask one thing of you guys. If you could just take the time out to go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review of the show. That's all I ask. I've been told that I need to start asking that more. I really hate to ask you guys for anything, but if it's going to be something, hopefully that's painless, and you guys wouldn't mind going over there and dropping a review. So with that being said, guys, man, like I said, I got to go to work tonight. Matter of fact, I got to be out of here in about 2.5 hours. And I know I said last episode I was going to speed through, and I didn't. I looked up, and it was over an hour later. I don't think I got that luxury this time. So, with that being said, we're going to get into the gaming news that went down. So, this came from The Gamer. This is where I got this article from. So, we got a small bit of an update about Machine Games' latest game, Indiana Jones. Now, this information was spotted by Twitter user Timur222. You spell that Timur, in case you want to follow him, 222. So, lighting artist Rick, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this brother's last name, is spelled N-I-E, U-W-D-O-R-P, Niodorp, I guess somewhere around there. We're going to call him Rick. For short. But he posted 2 updates on his LinkedIn that reveal the status of the upcoming Indiana Jones project. So from the post that Timur222 posted, you can see that Mr. Rick said he has been working on the game since March of 2021. Now, Mr. I'm going to say his first name again, Rick, because I can't get this brother's last name at all. Niodorp, I guess. Well, he also said, quote, lighting artist on. Currently in production, Indiana Jones title. Details will be forthcoming in the future. End of quote. So it has finally begun. Production on the new Indiana Jones game, coming way of Machine Games, is underway. Now, granted, we ain't gonna see nothing from this game for quite some time, because if they just started in March, they're only 2 months in. So I'm sure we're not going to see anything at E3. Who knows? They might show a splash screen or a bit of a CG trailer, which I hope they don't. We don't need CG trailers. If you don't have gameplay to show, then don't show anything at all. We are at a point in gaming where there is no more need for cinematic trailers. You can get your vision off. With the graphics and the technology that are in these machines right now, all I have to do is say Ratchet and Clank ripped apart much. Please spare me these doggone trailers. From here on out, I want to see gameplay. So with that being said, we shouldn't expect anything from this Indiana Jones game for quite some time, at least maybe 2 years or so. So around maybe 2024, we might start to get some information about it. But the thing that I'm most excited about is that it is at least in production right now. So that's something to look forward to in the not the very near future, but the future, as it were. But it's great to hear. Machine Games, I wonder, they can't make a first-person perspective Indiana Jones game, can they? I don't think that's possible. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it would be the best thing to do. I think that what's going to make this game very, very interesting is seeing, because we know the Machine Games, they can tell some really, really good games. We've seen it. Wolfenstein has done great. You know, they've done an excellent job with that. The first Wolfenstein really blew me away about how really great that game was. So with that being said, I'm going to be interested in the story. I'm going to be interested in how they get into the character of Indiana Jones and what are they going to do. Is it going to be a first person perspective, which I think would be, oh man, that wouldn't be good at all. Or are they going to go the third person, which I think would be the best thing to do. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Anyway, let me know. We're going to move on to the next story because of time, but this is something I'm so excited about. It was talked about before, and now it is officially being worked on. Indiana Jones. The last time I saw an Indiana Jones game, it was a demo back on the PS2 or whatever. He had that whip, man. That Joker was getting it on that train. Anyway, we got to move on. Shucks. Okay, all right, let's get on to the next story. So, the Xbox console exclusive, The Ascent, has finally gotten a release date, and it's going to release on July 29th, 2021 for $29.99. Or if you have the game subscription, Game Pass, is going to be in there on day one. Now, the game is described as a twin-stick shooter with RPG elements. Let me tell you something, man. This is a game. I'm not all for that. AA games constantly on Xbox. We need some AAAs in there. But this AA game, man, brothers, I'd be lying if I was to say that I'm not excited about this. I love twin stick shooters. The Tomb Raider twin stick shooters was awesome. So just seeing how great this game looks and that cyberpunk aesthetic to this game, oh man, this is a day one for me. I can't wait. And then just the fact that it has RPG elements to it as well. This is one right here to watch for. I got this one scoring very, very, very well. And this is a team that is made up of a lot of veteran video game makers. You know, these guys, they all formed together to build this company and make this game. I forget the name of this company though. Golly, it's slipping my mind. But either way, The Ascent This game is going to be awesome, and I will be there for this one on day one. Let's go ahead and move on into the next story. So over on the Rockstar Newswire page, we got a few pieces of news. So the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S version of GTA 5 will be released on November 11th, 2021. Now that's awesome and all, but this next piece of news really perked my ears because the Rockstar newsletter said, and I quote, "In honor of the upcoming 20th anniversary of the genre-defining Grand Theft Auto 3, we'll have even more fun surprises to share, including some specifically for GTA Online players." End of quote. Now this is me wishing on a star. I know I'm wishing on this star, but ride and walk down this path with me, brothers and sisters, just for a moment. Here you have GTA 3. Everybody knows that game single-handedly started the sandbox genre. Having that much freedom in a video game had never existed. You can go on a mission or you don't have to and just cause havoc around the city. You don't have to do a mission in a specific way by walking up to the enemies and shooting them, but you can run them over with a car. Man, I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life back in, when did this come out? 2001. So I am hoping, man, I know it's a long shot and I'm sure it's not going to happen, but I would love for them to announce that they are making a GTA 3 remaster. We know that they've had the meetings at these different, at these financial calls, you know, the first quarter earnings, third quarter earnings, and the person in the room or on the conference call asked them, you know, could you use the Grand Theft Auto name to build more revenue? Take some of these older games and make them new again. And with this being the 20th anniversary, I would just absolutely love that. I never beat GTA 3. Claude, the main character, he never spoke. He never said a word. He got set up by his girlfriend. She shot him, left him for dead, and I got far enough, but man, GTA 3 was a long game. Didn't finish it, so I would love to jump back into that game and just finish it, finally finish it. It's one of the only GTAs that I didn't finish that I've played. So, that would be awesome. We'll see what happens, man. We will see, but nonetheless, come November 11th, I can't believe we're talking about this. PlayStation 5 and Series X are going to have GTA 5 again. Man, this got to be a first. This has to be a first. How do you go 3 generations with the same game? Here it is, it came out on the 360 and the PS3. Then it moved to the PS4, Xbox One, and now you're going to the PS5 and the Series X and S. This should be a crime, Rockstar. I don't know what's going on. Am I going to buy it? Hey, listen, man, listen. To be determined. I will say that. I might be part of the darn problem. We're going to go ahead and move on into the next story. It depends on how them graphics hitting. We have to see, brothers. But let's go ahead and see what we got next. So yeah, now I got this story from Kotaku. So let's talk about some Xbox E3 news. So according to French publication, here we go, Le Figaro, I think that's how you pronounce it, Figaro, Figaro. Yeah, that sounds fancy. Xbox game studio head Matt Booty allegedly confirmed that a joint E3 conference between Bethesda and Xbox will be held in mid-June, where they will reveal a number of games coming down the pipe. Now, along with this, Jason Schreier, he is reporting, and I mean, man, maybe we should definitely taper expectations when it comes to Starfield, because he is reporting that Starfield will be at E3, but it's nowhere near ready to release. So let's just unpack this just a little bit so we finally get some news. We were wondering, is Microsoft, Xbox, are they going to do their own thing? And is Bethesda going to continue with the tradition that they have started by doing their own E3 show separately from Xbox? Well, it looks like that is not going to happen. So this is when my mind started racing just a little bit. Because we remember one of those E3s, Microsoft said it was going to be like an hour and a half, 50, 60, 70,000 minutes, and it ended up being about 35 minutes short from what they said it was going to be. Now, this is the thing. You're talking about 23 studios that Microsoft has. Plenty of games that are in the works. Everwild, we don't know what it is. Doggone developers don't know what it is. Rare said they still working on what the concept is gonna be. You got Senua's Sacrifice. You got Fable. You got the new Forza. I mean, I know it didn't look great, but you got the new Halo Infinite. I mean, they have some games. Then you got the games that Bethesda are working on. I'm thinking this might be a loaded show. We might finally get one. Xbox might get a W at this year's E3, because having Bethesda on top of the games that they already have in development, man, this might be the one. This might be the one where they finally show us something. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Bethesda comes out there with Wolfenstein 3? And then they show off maybe Elder Scrolls 6. And then they show off Starfield. Man, just that alone would be way better than what we've gotten from Microsoft in years. Just that alone. And then you add in there Senua's Sacrifice by Ninja Theory, which I think are the all-stars over there at Microsoft right now at the Xbox brand. Then who knows? Maybe, hey man, let's shoot for the stars, because darn, we've been let down for years. Let's shoot for the stars. What if doggone the coalition comes out and shows something new? I mean, we have what's that? We Happy Few. The name of that studio, I can't remember, but they're working on something that's supposed to be it's supposed to be a mix of like BioShock and Uncharted, just something crazy. What if they finally, and it's supposed to be third person perspective, what if they show up with something amazing? I'm telling y'all, I do this every year, man, and I'm to blame for it to a certain extent. Every time it comes to Microsoft, I get hyped up. I start feeling like, man, this is finally going to be the year that we get something. Maybe we see that game that man was talking about is supposed to be so, quote, mind-blowing, end of quote. And that's the thing. It's like every time you hear all of these buzzwords, your imagination starts going crazy. And we get to the show and it's like, golly, what happened? Nobody is going to forget. Oh, man, I'm wiping my face. I'm wiping my brow. I'm sweating, man, because good grief, I want this one to be so good, man. I have been waiting for a W for Microsoft, Xbox, the E3 show. Y'all remember, I have reached my breaking point. I knew I broke when they were at E3 by themselves. What was that, 2019? I believe they had E3 all to themselves. And we said, man, how can they mess it up? It's a simple layup. You're on the court by yourself. You got the lane, you're wide open, nobody's around. And they went for the layup and they hit a daggone brick. How do you hit a brick from a layup? And it was right then and there. I said, man, I don't know. I don't know where the hope is. For Microsoft, for Xbox, I should say, not Microsoft, they're fine, but Xbox, I'm just sitting here wondering, please show me something, and nothing happened. But here it is, it's a different day. They got Bethesda now. They got a ton of teams. A lot of games are in development. They have the makings to have an excellent E3. Imagine Fable gets shown at the show as well. I mean, come on, Microsoft. I mean, you got to, man. Y'all don't understand how hard I am rooting for Xbox to give me and us a home run. And just the fact that they're combining the shows together, that's the thing that's making me just be even more hopeful. You got Bethesda. Show off 3 solid games. Wolfenstein if it's ready. Elder Scrolls 6 if you got something in Starfield. That's amazing. And then some stuff we don't even know about. Then you top that off with the other stuff that your other teams are working on. It could be great, man. Oh, come on, Microsoft, please. Mid-June, we're going to see something, and they're combining together. Oh, man, I believe I'm going on record saying that I believe they can get the W at E3 this year. Oh, man, please don't let me down, Microsoft. Please, Xbox. Let me move on, man. Good grief. Man, what the heck we got here next? Okay. Yeah, man, I need Microsoft to do this one, man. Shucks, I do. Let's move on, though. Into PC news. So, a modder whose name is Luke Ross just made a VR mod for Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, usually his mods are free, but because of the scope of the project and him working on this full time, you'll have to hit his Patreon to get access. And just to clarify, you can play the whole game in VR, either in first person or third person mode. Y'all know why I brought this up. Y'all know why I'm mentioning this. Can you bring this mod to PSVR? Can you please? I would love to say bring it to Xbox Series X if we knew that they had a VR headset in the works, but they don't at the moment. All we have is PlayStation right now. So could you please, Rockstar, maybe eventually get in contact with this guy, Luke Ross, and ask him to do the same thing over on PlayStation with that VR headset. Either way, PC guys, man, this is pretty dope. Red Dead Redemption, definitely one of my favorite games from last generation. Top 5, easily. Top 5 best games of last generation. And that game was just absolutely incredible. Fantastic game. Little sluggish on the gameplay. Gameplay might not have been the best, but it was still a great game. Graphically, it was incredible. Voice acting was awesome. The story was fantastic. And the side quests, good gosh, absolutely incredible to play. I really had a great time with Red Dead Redemption 2. Shucks, who knows? Is Rockstar going to do any updates to that game, or something like that for next generation, or, well, as it is current generation? Speaking of that, man, I got so many things that I didn't write down this week, but I have to talk about this real quick. Speaking about top 5 favorite games from last generation, The Last of Us Part 2 just got a 60 frames per second performance mode on PS5, and Digital Foundry took it through its paces. Man, this thing is solid. at a solid 60 frames per second about 99.999% of the time, because it was this one particular area that they had the same problem when they played it on a PS4 Pro, where it just dips one frame. Now on the PS5, when they were playing it in that same area, it dipped maybe 1 or 2 or 3 frames, but I don't think it ever went under 56 frames per second. But outside of that area, man, that game was running flawless. I mean, it was oh man, y'all know how I feel about The Last of Us Part 2. The game, man, it was great to see it, but man, I know what this week's question of the week is gonna be. I got y'all. But seeing that, it was awesome, but it also made me pretty much, put to bed that they're gonna be doing a remaster on the PlayStation 5 as far as The Last of Us Part 2 goes. I think that's as far as they're going to take it with the 60 frames per second, which is excellent. And man, the way the game was running, it looked so good. But that was just a side note, just a sidebar. Another sidebar. I didn't write this down since we're talking about PlayStation. The Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart having so many different options for all types of game players, making it very accessible to a lot of gamers. They actually said that they took some inspiration from The Last of Us Part 2 to give you so many options. In The Last of Us Part 2, that was the first game where it was a voice for everything. You reloading your weapon, or you're pointing to your weapon. Accessibility was off the charts with The Last of Us Part 2. So with that, about to say Naughty Dog again, no, Insomniac, they took that and they also included that and Rift Apart, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is awesome. It's always great to give accessibility to as many people as you can, because just really quickly, I didn't understand that until it happened to me when I got radio nerve palsy in my left hand and I wasn't able to hold my Xbox controller or my PlayStation controller. The Xbox controller, for some reason, was a little easier for me to hold, but I was out of commission. And man, thank God, my hand actually was able to heal, and I was able to get back to gaming, like normal, back to normal. But that doesn't happen for everybody. So just the fact that they're trying to make the game as accessible to as many people as possible, I really tip my hat off to them. And I hope that these developers, they continue to walk down that path to make gaming as accessible to everybody, as many people as possible. Because until you've been through it, you just take for granted your hands, man. You just take it for granted. I'm holding a controller, pushing the buttons. But when one of your hands is, pretty much out of commission, you look at things completely different. So shout out to Microsoft as well for their controller. And shout out to Insomniac for, doing the same thing for gamers that may have certain disabilities that are preventing them from playing, by trying to cater to them as well. So yeah, I think that should definitely be celebrated. But let's go ahead, man. In the sake of time, we are at 28 minutes. Good gosh. I don't know if we're going to get out of here in less than an hour. Let's keep going and let's just see what happens. Shoot. Okay, now speaking of Red Dead, let's talk about Take-Two. So during an earnings call, President Carl Slatoff, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, and I got this from PC Gamer, it's spelled Slatoff, Slatoff, had this to say, and I quote, 2K will also introduce 2 releases from new franchises this year, including one from Gearbox. End of quote. Now, it doesn't look like we'll be waiting long. Well, anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But this is great news because, man, my goodness, 2K as a whole, I mean, they're bringing out all kinds of stuff, 2K basketball and other things. But just the fact it's going to be 2 new franchises this year under the 2K banner, and one of them coming from Gearbox. The Borderlands, golly, what do you call them? The Borderlands creators, the creators of Borderlands. I'm so interested to know what this is going to be. And then the other brand new franchise coming out this year as well. I'm very, very excited. I'm glad to see that they're bringing out some new games. Speaking of new games under their banner, I believe that 60 games are supposed to be released. I think this was also on the same conference call, but they said 60 games are supposed to be released between 2022 and 2024. So that is a ton. You're talking about, good grief, possibly 15 games? Shucks, more than that. 30 games and well, no, if you break it down, 22 to 24, that's 2 years. So yeah, man, I guess 30 games per year, which, god dog, can y'all imagine that? Is a new Max Payne in there somewhere, god dog it. We need another Max Payne. Man, I want one. Is GTA 6 in there somewhere, Rockstar and Take-Two? I mean, my goodness, but we know one thing is in there, a brand new game from Gearbox, so that's awesome. And I look forward to seeing what it is. We'll see what happens with that game and the other new franchise that's supposed to allegedly be coming out this year. Well, not allegedly. They said this on the earnings call, so this is legit. Well, let's go ahead and move on into, oh man, this is good. We're going to talk about some God of War Ragnarok news. So even though news has been very scarce about this title, we finally got just a little bit to go on late this week. So when Sony Santa Monica concept artist Samuel Matthews, he spoke on the God of War podcast where he mentioned that the developer is looking at The Last of Us Part 2 for inspiration when he talked about the next entry in the God of War franchise. Now, he also mentioned the possibility of Atreus becoming a fully playable character, which how crazy would that be? Now, he also touched on the possibility of exploring other worlds outside of Norse mythology. So this is the thing, man. It seems like everybody is pulling from The Last of Us Part 2. It is the most decorated game of all time at this point in time. The most Game of the Year awards. I mean, the game is going to, good grief, game is just absolutely incredible. I have never played such an amazing game, man. I mean, I don't give out tens too much on games, but that was as perfect as you could get for a game, in my opinion. So everybody's looking at The Last of Us Part 2 for inspiration. And the thing that I love about this is that we know that in The Last of Us Part 2, part of it you played as Ellie, part of it you played as, man, now how the world am I going to forget the doggone girl's name? Oh, man. You know, on the spot. Y'all know who I'm talking about. God dog. Yeah, her. This is so embarrassing, but I gotta keep going, man. So, you know, you play as both of those characters, you know, at different times of the game. How incredible would it be that at the same time in this brand new God of War, you know, we don't know how old Atreus is gonna be in this this God of War. Could he get a little older? I know if you got the secret ending, well, I don't want to ruin it. Not gonna ruin that. But, you know, just the fact that you may be able to play as Atreus as his own character, not his own character, but just play his character in the game away from Kratos. That would be one heck of a change of pace, having him just shooting with the bow and arrow, and who knows, man, maybe he's actually able to control his rage, you know, and be able to bring something more to the table than just the bow and arrow, which I absolutely loved that bow and arrow in God of War. and just having him as that secondary character, having that happen, and exploring other worlds outside of Norse mythology. Now, I don't know if they mean that for future God of War games, or if they're talking about, well, I should say his name again, the concept artist Samuel Matthews. I don't know if he's talking about in future games, or if this could be a possibility in this next upcoming game, God of War Ragnarok, where you could actually go to other places outside of what they've built up with this Norse mythology. How the world would that work? That would be incredible, man. Look, listen, we've all thought of this as just an add-on, a DLC, nothing more, nothing less. But man, this might really, this may become something pretty darn special, but this is all the information we have, and we're just going to have to wait on the rest. Maybe we see something at E3. I really hope so. I would love for it to happen, but we just going to have to see. Let's go ahead and move on into the next story. Now, this next story is coming to us from The Verge, so we have a little more info on Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. Now, the event will start on June 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's being called a, quote, spectacular world premiere showcase, end of quote, with, quote, more than a dozen, end of quote, premiere showcase with premieres and announcements. Now, the publishers that will be participating in Games Fest are as follows. We'll have Activision there, Capcom, 2K. I like that, 2K. Woo! We might see that game at this doggone conference. You never know. Well, let me keep on going. You got Epic Games, you got Blizzard, Riot Games, Sony PlayStation, Microsoft Xbox, Ubisoft, and Square Enix. This is dope, man, because just thinking about it, what if Gearbox is there showing off their game? And we heard, well, not heard, but I just read it. These are going to be world premieres. This is a world premiere showcase where these guys are going to be on the stage. And what makes this even more interesting, and I'm hoping Jeff hits a home run with this one. I'm hoping so. It sounds promising. But the thing that really is cool about this is it's actually starting a little before E3 officially kicks off, which is June 12th. So we'll have that lead up of these games that are going to take us in to E3 itself. Listen, with PlayStation being there, who knows what they going to show? Microsoft, Xbox, the Xbox brand being there, could we get a snippet, something to get us excited? This would be a very, very great show to get people excited for the big show. This would be a great prepper. Just something to really get the crowd involved, get the gamers hyped up, just a bit of a sneak peek behind the curtain of what you can expect to happen during the official E3 week. So I'm pumped up about this. Square Enix is going to be there. Are they going to give a hint, just an inkling of Final Fantasy VII Part 2 remake at this show? I mean, hey, I'm not going to say the possibilities are endless, but good grief, it's enough to get you excited. Capcom is going to be there. Are they finally going to show off Codename Veronica Remaster, because you're running out of games to remaster in the Resident Evil franchise? I mean, listen, I don't know. But I know one thing is for sure, and that is that I am really, really looking forward to this show. Man, bring it home, Jeff. June 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, let me say this, quote, more than a dozen, end of quote, world premieres and announcements. Yes, and yes. We're going to see what happens with this, but for the sake of time, oh, buddy, we almost hit 40 minutes. Let's go ahead and move into the next story. So, In Deep Silver news, it was announced that Free Radical Design founders Steve Ellis and David Duoc, who were both behind 2005's Time Splitters, have reunited to build the studio, quote, to help plot the future course for the Time Splitters franchise. Now, Steve Ellis had this to say, and I quote, to finally be able to confirm that the studio has been formed and that we have a plan for the next Time Splitters game is incredible. While we cannot tell you anything more at the moment, we look forward to sharing information in the future. End of quote. So here it is. A brand new Time Splitters game is in the works. This is a game that, yes, it's a cult following. Did it hit huge on the main stage? Nah, not really. But a lot of people enjoyed this game. They had been asking for a remaster, asking for a remake, and finally it is happening. They are getting the team back together. Two of the original guys that were on the game have come back to try to shape the next Time Splitters game. And hey, man, who knows? Who knows? I mean, this thing might be awesome. Might be as good as the last one. I'm hoping for better. But either way, it's in the works. We'll hear something when they are ready to release the information. Let's go ahead and get into the next story. Now, this one is coming from Polygon. So, speaking of Deep Silver, it was also announced, and, well, I'll be honest, I'm not sure why, but Saints Row the Third Remastered is coming to Series X and PS5 on May 25th. Now, with this version of the game, you will get 60 frames per second running in 4K. But the Series S will have a performance mode that runs at 30 frames per second and a higher resolution, and beauty focus mode will run at 60 frames per second in 1080p. Man, that other resolution for performance mode, they did not even specify that one. So I don't know, is it running 2K, 1K resolution? I don't know. But anyway, this beauty focus, you're going to be getting 60 frames per second in 1080p. Now, it will also have, of course, and this is probably by default, but it is dope, it will have faster loading times for all the consoles, the next-gen consoles. Now, this is a really, really dope thing that they're doing. If you already own the game, you will be able to get the upgrade free of charge. You'll be able to get the PS5 and the Series X version for free if you own it on your PS4 and your Xbox One. And I actually own this on the Xbox One, so I look forward to getting the Series X. Hopefully, when they blow me out the water, they blow my socks off at E3, and I feel comfortable getting the Series X. So this is dope. I love the fact that this is really becoming a thing now, where these developers, and this is something we were wondering about, were they going to still try to nickel and dime us with these upgraded versions like they've been doing for years and years? Each generation this happens, but for the first time, in most cases, we are getting these upgrades for free, pretty similar to how it's done over on PC. So this is fantastic news. I love that this trend is continuing to go, and it seems like it is not stopping. It keeps going forward, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. So kudos to those guys for making this happen. I absolutely love it. And, man, I'll play it. I'll play it again on the Xbox Series X at 4K, 60 frames per second. Shugs, why not? It's a free upgrade. I absolutely love it. And hopefully hopefully soon, we will get some news on a brand new Saints Row 5. Can you please work on that Deep Silver? Man, let me tell you, Saints Row came such a long way with that third one. That third one is special, man. I beat it. The intro to that game is so awesome. I forgot all about how great that intro was. The voice acting, I mean, hitting enemies. I ain't gonna say what it is, but with that purple, that purple object that you get in your hand, I ain't never seen nothing like that. I said, man, these jokers that went way too far, but I love it. I absolutely love it. That over-the-top stuff, oh, man, it was great. It was so awesome in Saints Row 3. It made me a fan. I skipped 1 and 2 because I was like, man, these are just GTA ripoffs. But they really found their footing with Saints Row the 3rd, man. It was awesome. So, yeah, get ready for this. May 25th. Once again, if you already have the copy on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, you will be able to upgrade to this copy for free, no charge. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So, let's run the numbers. Yes. Now, these numbers come from a company called Ampere Analysis. You spell it Ampere. Ampere or Ampere Analysts. If you want to check the numbers out, go over to them. By the way, I got this from Game Rant, but they have the numbers for the consoles, for console first quarter sales between Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation 5. So Xbox Series X and S have sold a combined 1.31 million copies. PlayStation 5, they have sold 2.83 million copies, which is, man, it's a little more than 2 to 1. Oh, jeez. And Switch, now this came completely out of left field. Switch has sold 5.86 million, lapping everybody. Now, God dog, first off, man, Nintendo, God dog, y'all getting that Wii success with the Nintendo Switch. It is amazing. By the way, I had mentioned this talking about Nintendo, just a sidebar real fast. I had to shout out Vaughn for suggesting to me that documentary, the Nintendo documentary over on Crackle called Playing with Power. That was one of the best gaming docs I have ever seen. And it really, really made me look at Nintendo so fondly, man. It was certain parts of the documentary. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm human. I shed some tears. Yeah, I shed a couple. Cause I'm like, man, I remember these commercials. I remembered the feeling of having the Nintendo in my home at Christmas time with the power pad and the zapper, and just remembering that vividly. It was just something so magical about Nintendo back then. It was almost, golly, it was like Disney-like. It really was. That's why I say Nintendo has been the Disney of gaming for forever. It gave me this feeling that I've never felt with PlayStation or Xbox. It's just a different feeling because it caught me at a child. I was 7 years old when I got the Super Nintendo. The Nintendo, I was about 7 or 8, somewhere around in there when I got it. Might have been 9, but it was just something so incredibly magical about that. I would highly recommend you guys, even if you're not a Nintendo fan, watch that documentary. It was amazing. Fantastic. And I just want to shout Vaughn out again for recommending that to me, and as well as you guys to look at. And Crackle is a free app. He put me down with that as well. I didn't know. And that doc, it really, really, it touched Man, it touched a bit of my heart with that one. It was pretty darn special. But anyway, so Nintendo, back to the conversation at hand, Nintendo is lapping everybody. They are having major success. 5.86 million copies of the Switch have been sold to the PlayStation 5's 2.83 million. Now, this is the thing, and hey, listen, man. Xbox, they ain't doing so well right now. I mean, they are getting beat by PS5 2-1, and I said this, and gosh, goodness knows I'm hoping that I eventually am wrong, but I said that I thought that the PS5 in the Series X era was going to be worse than the previous generation. I thought that they were going to beat them 3-1. Now, this can all change at E3. If Microsoft shows some amazing things off, this could all be turned around. But with all of that being said, I want to be fair to all of these companies involved. Well, mainly PlayStation and the Series X, the Xbox. To be fair, you know, both the PlayStation 5 and Series X and S, they're extremely hard to find. And even IBM, they confirmed that recently, and we all know this, that chip shortages could continue into 2023. So right now, even though these numbers, they are looking pretty bad. But with that, we can't take away the fact that you can't walk into the store and pick either one of those consoles up. And even for Nintendo, they've even warned that eventually they're even going to have a shortage of Switches because of the same situation with chips. And they said they don't even know what they're going to be able to do once the demand becomes so high. They said pretty much they're not going to be able to fulfill any of those obligations to the demand of how many people are going to want the Switch because they're just not going to have the pieces that they need, the stuff to build it, to sell it. So the same thing is happening with the Xbox and the PlayStation right now. So we're not going to really get a full picture. I mean, right now, we definitely got a picture. Oh, it's definitely a picture. Xbox at 1.31 million and PS5 at 2.83 million. Once again, that's a little over a 2-1 win for PlayStation, but it could change. Let these consoles come out on shelves regularly where you can just walk in, pick one up. You don't have to sell your left arm to pick one up from one of these scalpers, or you got to be online all night trying to get one. I mean, just let it be normal. Walk in, pick it up, leave. Once that happens, I think we'll get a much better understanding of where those two consoles are, because right now it is a clear winner out here, and it's definitely the Switch. 5.86 million. I mean, god darn, they are lapping. That's what, I mean, my math is not great, but let's just say that's 3 million more than the PS5. But once again, to be fair, you can't walk in a store and get a PlayStation 5 off the shelf like that. So it's still a little unfair, but this picture, golly, Nintendo, they are winning. They are absolutely winning big. Let's go ahead and let's get into the final story of the week. So this is in quick news, and I got this from IGN. Crysis 2 Remastered could be in the works. So over on the official Crysis Twitter, they wrote, quote, "They used to call me Prophet." End of quote. Now, that was tweeted out on May 20th, which was also a line spoken by Prophet, or Major Lawrence, in Crysis 2 on May 20th. Now, they also included a screenshot from Crysis 2. So, is it possible that what did they used to say back in the day on the PC? But can it run Crysis 2? Are they possibly looking at remastering this and bringing it to the current consoles, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X? Is that a possibility? I had this game years ago on the 360, and let me tell you something, God dog, this game, it got a little hard in certain spots, but I was able to beat it. I actually enjoyed the game. I thought it was a little different. You had your gun, you had your shield that you could bring up at any given time, but the graphics, the graphics, brothers and sisters, was amazing. It was fantastic. Gameplay wasn't all that great. It wasn't. Nah, it was a game I had to sit down for a little while and then come back to it a little later on down the road when I understood the mechanics of the game. It was a little slow paced, just wasn't fantastic gameplay. It was okay. The story, it was there. It was there, but nothing absolutely I guess it was groundbreaking as far as the graphics went on PC, but it was just an okay game. But some people may be very excited about it. Crysis 2, I would love to see how it's running on the PS5 and the Series X. So maybe, just maybe, E3 season is starting very, very shortly. Brothers and sisters, gamers alike. So maybe at E3, we just might get a little sneak peek of this game. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news. I think we are gonna make it out of this mother lover on time. Now we are gonna get into the question of the week. This is the final section of the podcast. This is the last section. So what I want to ask you guys this week, and I know y'all saw the question already, but we're gonna go over it right now officially. So, got this to ask y'all. What's your favorite next gen feature? The thing that spawned this for me, and you guys heard it when it kind of clicked in my mind, was seeing The Last of Us Part 2 getting this 60 frames per second upgrade for free. I'm going to tell you guys, you guys already know, I don't have a Series X. I don't have a PS5. Thankfully, and shout out to Vaughn again, over on the feedback, he was telling me that they're going to start having people come inside of the stores to pick up the consoles instead of buying them online, so everybody can have a fair shot at getting one. So that's awesome. I know that I'd read Target said the same thing, but so that's great. But the thing that I just appreciate about next generation is this. I think this is my favorite feature. Having these guys give you these upgrades for free. I just read, Saints Row the third. They're going to be giving the upgrades away for free if you already owned the game on the previous gen consoles. This is just brand new for us. PC guys have been getting it for years, but for the console, this is just a heck of an awesome feature. So I would say that's my favorite feature of next gen, even though, once again, I don't have one yet. But trust me, I'm trying so hard to get my hands on one. So I would love to know, you the listener, what's your favorite next gen feature? I mean, now we have faster loading times. Graphics, is it the graphics? I don't think we've seen the graphics peak yet. Is still way, way too early. But I gotta say, Ratchet and Clank though. Oh my gosh, that game looks so good. Oh, it looks amazing. Pixar. That's what we are. That thing looks incredible. Shout out to Insomniac for that. But that is the question of the week. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to thank you guys again for coming out, showing support. It's amazing to have the support from you guys. Thank you guys so much. And once again, if you appreciate what we do over here, please go over to Apple Podcasts and do a review of the show. Thank you guys so much. But before we officially get out of here, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until Wednesday, when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.